The new DLC is pretty good. I don't know why that's on screen. Sorry. Elden Ring Nightreign has provided some of my favorite boss fights in video games at the current moment. I mean, have you seen how cinematic some of these bosses are? I just got nuked by a giant flaming Cerberus. I can't say that about most games. I mean, sure, I still get railed, frenzied, and crucified, I guess, but I love them all the same. However, by far, my favorite boss in the game is none other than the newest boss in the Forsaken Hollows DLC, the Dreglord. The Dreglord I've soloed a few times with Undertaker and Wilder, and every single time, I've enjoyed the fight without so much as one complaint. The reason why he's near perfect is because he's missing a couple of things, which I'll get to later. And hey, if you enjoy, why not subscribe and hype up this video? With that being said, let's start at the very beginning with my first attempt against the Dreglord. When I first fought the Dreglord, I deliberately stopped myself from watching any footage on him because I wanted to have a fresh perspective. All I knew at the time was he was going to be on par with Heelster in terms of quality. I was hoping for some cinematic shots and crazy new attacks. Needless to say, I got what I wanted. The Dreglord was featured briefly in the only trailer for the Forsaken Hollows DLC, but he was basically the main appeal, the main focal point. The Dreglord is a corpse fiend shaped by the countless bodies and discarded filth that have succumbed to the night. Their undying malice and hatred is what keeps the fiend alive, and thus is a calamity that must be put to rest. Firstly, I love its lore. I love any type of creature or monster or anything that is the amalgamation of something. There's a reputation behind it, a timeline that indicates just how powerful it is. The Dreglord is one such case. The reason why his title is treacherous in the first phase is because he's fighting against the night. Before I even got to fight him, I was giddy with anticipation, and, you know, that's the first sign of a good boss. You know, of course, it took me a few attempts to even get there. Who in their right mind thought fighting a Curse Blade and a Divine Beast Warrior at the same time was a good idea? You couldn't add any new weapons or spells from the DLC, but oh, 4 Death Knights, let's do that. His fight begins like most final bosses, interrupting nap time. He wakes up and immediately starts swinging his giant weapon. Now, I've heard people compare him to Slave Knight Gale or Orphan of Kos, and I sorta agree. The moveset is not the same, but the tempo and pacing of the fight is. Much like Heelster, the Dreglord starts off slow, except he is 10 times more beefy. I thought, oh, okay, he only has this one health bar because there is no way he has a whole new second phase with a whole new health bar with the damage that I'm currently doing. In hindsight, the damage sucks because my weapon sucks. I don't know why I chose the Nox Hammer, it's terrible even in the regular game, but regardless, I thought the second phase would trigger around half health. Surprisingly, the Dreglord was quite easy at first. He swings his weapon wildly, but there's a pattern that you can identify and counter effectively. I mean, you and I have faced bosses before with similar patterns, like Heelster and Gale, so this was nothing new to me. But see, that was new. And that was something I was afraid of. Scarlet Rot is one of the most annoying status conditions in the game, and in most cases, once it procs, you might as well start over. On top of this, the Dreglord now spawns in those slow Scarlet Rot zombies from puddles laid upon the ground. And that's all he spawns, there's nothing else. Oh my gosh, what is that? Look, I don't know what these abominations are, but I've made it a personal religious act to avoid them like the actual plague they are. You might think this adds up to bad boss design, Scarlet Rot, minions, but hear me out, it's actually easy to mitigate. See, the Scarlet Rot doesn't proc immediately, and builds slow enough where it may become an issue when the fight's almost over. Besides, the damage it does is nothing compared to the Lake of Rot or other Rot bosses I faced before. This is a tickle on the pickle in comparison. And besides, the game gives you so many abilities to counteract this. For one, there's an ability where poison or rot in the vicinity gives you health per second. It doesn't fully nullify the rot's effect, but it does enough where it's not an issue anymore. Almost every time I've faced the Dreglord, I've had the ability to heal upon an enemy's death. And guess what? The Dreglord plays no favorites. He will kill his own spawn, which in turn heals you. And those minions are more passive than aggressive and really don't interfere with the fight as much as you would think. Alright, well, I stand corrected, but with the right abilities, these smaller enemies are actually a benefit. So, you have a boss with an aggressive moveset, yet one that's easy to read, with additional mechanics that can play a key role in what abilities you select on your run. On my first attempt, I beat the Dreglord by the skin on my teeth, or however that saying goes, and even though it was easy, I still thought this fight was incredible. Oh, what a fool I was for thinking such a fight would be that easy. At least I got to the part of the music that plays in the trailer, so you know what, I call that a win. Hyolster is a very aggressive boss, but compensates for that with a smaller health pool. The Dreglord is arguably even more aggressive, and has a larger health bar than most other Night Lords. What I just talked about was only the first phase. The second phase begins with the Dreglord rising once more, but now has become a pure impulse of mass destruction. You see what I did there? Alright. A mass of bone and flesh sprouts from his back and he roars. Before he was somewhat composed, now he crawls along the ground like some beast, similar to that of Slave Knight Gale in his first phase. You can definitely see the resemblance now. Piles of flesh and rot decorate the entire arena. He's much more sporadic. His attacks have no flow or structure to it. He flails around violently and his roar alone causes Scarlet Rot to erupt from the ground. Look, I know there's a lot happening on screen right now, but honestly, I had no trouble focusing on the boss and keeping an eye on environmental hazards when needed. See, the pacing and progression of difficulty here is amazing. The first phase acts as a simple warm-up, getting you used to what the Dreglord is capable of, and once you understand that, the second phase kicks up the difficulty to a near 10. What makes the Dreglord and Hyolster so well balanced in single player, in my opinion, is because their main attack strategy is to focus on a single player and kill them as quickly as possible. Most other Night Lords have these giant AoEs that can hit multiple players, even if they're targeting someone specifically. I've noticed that these two bosses have longer, more complex attack strings that, again, focus on a specific target. Which means in single player, not much is really changing. On my second attempt, I had no trouble getting through the first phase. As you can see, my damage was much better this time around, and it became the standard on future runs. Again, the Nox Hammer is garbage. The Dreglord has larger AoEs now, Scarlet Rot bombs that spread across the entire stage, and damage that can easily one-shot you. He encourages a more aggressive playstyle because you can actually stagger and lower his defenses with enough damage. On the contrary, he can also gain insane attack buffs. I think the highest I saw was 22 swords. Needless to say, I didn't survive that. But what makes this boss so amazing is that as difficult as the Dreglord is, he's still very well balanced and completely fair. Every single time I died or even failed a run, I never blamed the game or the boss. It was always my fault. I would reset, maybe try a different build, and go back in with better knowledge. Positioning is crucial in any boss fight, and you can easily find weak spots in his attack patterns that leave him wide open. The progression of difficulty is amazing, but your own progression of understanding the fight is even better, even when it comes down to the third phase. Gotta say, I love that little piano motif that plays during the transition before he, nukes the entire place. I think now is a good time to mention the Dreglord soundtrack. He easily has one of the best chaotic soundtracks in the entire game. It is absolutely gorgeous, and it really encapsulates the fight as a whole. The choir, the percussion, the strings, oh, dude, it makes my nipples hard. It's so good! In the third phase, the Dreglord opens by jumping between the rising pillars across the arena, and slamming the largest AoE on your face the fight has seen thus far. Much like Slave Knight Gale, not much changes, like a couple of new moves, a couple of fresh patterns, but all of them command your total attention. He can swing from the structures he can conjure, summon giant bombs of discarded corpses. I want to repeat that again, summon giant bombs of discarded corpses that explode into rain of Scarlet Rot. I'm sorry, but that's one of the most metal attacks in the entire game. It's disgusting, it's horrifying, it's beautiful. In one run as Wilder, I ran out of healing and he did that same attack. You see how much health I have left. I couldn't stall anymore, otherwise the Scarlet Rot would finish me off. I, of course, did it without any problems. Woo! But even after all that chaos, all that spectacle, the Dreglord still stands out as one of the most fair, yet intensely difficult bosses in the entire series, which is saying something. Again, not once, not a single time did I feel cheated or annoyed or like the boss was being janky for the sake of difficulty. Every mistake was on me. This entire fight was amazing. I honestly can't find a single fault with it, and like I've tried. It is that good. So then why is it only near perfection? Well, for one, I don't think any boss can be perfect. It's just not possible. You can get close to it, but never achieve it. My reasoning is not in the faults, but in the what could have been. See, as great as the Dreglord is, I honestly found him a little too easy. Which is weird because I've created a paradox here. Yes, he's definitely one of the most difficult bosses I faced in video games, but his difficulty fizzles out quicker than most other bosses. This is a weird comparison, but hopefully it makes sense. It's kinda like a warhead. Super sour candy in the first 20 seconds and then it dies off and you're like, okay, this is nothing now. My first attempt, I nearly got to the third phase. My second attempt was a clean sweep. I didn't even die once. Perhaps it's because I've faced other bosses before with slightly different patterns, but it was enough to get accustomed to fast. It also doesn't help that his longer attack strings do tend to stray off course most of the time. I mean, I could just sit there and watch him flail about before he corrects himself. Now, I want to make it clear, just because the Dreglord is one of the easier fights in the game for me personally, does not mean he's worse. Heolster is quite easy for me now too, and he's my second favorite. Because the Dreglord has proper balancing. See, Nightreign is meant to be played with 2 other people. Gladius literally splits up into 3 dogs, 1 for each player. If you fight that boss alone, like that's your fault. The Balancers is literally a gank boss fight. That was a nightmare solo, but I still enjoyed it. I'm sure someone out there thought this attack was hot, and for you, that gross. Bosses like the Dreglord and Heolster, again, are coded well for a one-on-one fight, which gives the illusion that they're easier. Because, you know, I like to play this game solo, so of course when I go up against the boss that's meant for multiple players, I'm gonna find it overly difficult. But again, the Dreglord and Heolster, not as much. The other thing, and you know, this may be a nitpick, but I wish there was more to the third phase. Yes, he gets a couple new incredible attacks, but like that's about it. I was hoping for him to use the corpses around the arena more creatively, or have even more cinematic finishers that would blow the rest of the Night Lords out of the water. Heolster splitting the sky is still the best attack in the game for me, so I was hoping the Dreglord would be on par with that, but still, with what we got, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, this fight was a blast from beginning to the end. It was a perfect storm of design, spectacle, music, and challenge. The Dreglord is easily one of my favorite bosses of all time, and I'm sure some of you have your own high praises to tell, so please, do tell. I'm curious what you think about the Dreglord, if you like him or not, what could be better, so feel free to leave a comment. And if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hype, like, and to subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care everyone, and of course, stay safe.